Most companies try to transform. Only 30% actually succeed. The gap isn't ambition, it's execution, alignment, and the ability to lead through complexity. At Think, Act, Lead, we believe real change comes from those willing to challenge systems, navigate uncertainty, and lead without a script. So we talk to the 30%. Not tourists, not trend followers, but bold leaders actually doing the real work inside the organization, across silos, and on the front line of change. Each episode is a peer-to-peer conversation. We break down tough decisions, turning points, and human tension behind lasting impact. Be more than the vision, be the 30%.
Design in fintech isn't about pretty interfaces. It's about making risk legible. When users move money, check balances, or trust a platform, the interface is the experience. Few people understand that better than today's guest. Piotr Wilk is the founder of Teddy Graphics, a fintech design studio known for navigating high-stake UX in one of the most regulated and sensitive industries, finance. He worked across banks, payment platforms, and tech startups, where getting design wrong isn't just inconvenient, it's costly. So let's start at the heart of his approach. So Piotr, you've worked across some of the most regulated, high-pressured environment out there. So let's start with how you approach that challenge. How do you build trust under pressure in fintech UX?
Thank you very much, Stefano, for your warm introduction. Thank you very much for your question. Yes, trust is everything. With product design, trust is everything. And at Teddy Graphics, we have this trust framework, but essentially it's very simple. If you think of trust being an emotion strongly backed by expectations and past experiences, you have the problem half addressed, just knowing what's it like. So users have their expectations. If you address those expectations on a repeated manner, that's how trust builds. That's the baseline. Apart from that, when users are using your product, they also may have some technical issues. So the challenge is always also with support. But again, basically, if you address their expectations on a repeated manner, that's how trust appears. So this is how we approach trust building. Now, getting back to this other part of your question with regards to regulations. Well, regulation basically, they are good. Regulations are good because it's all to serve us better. It does influence our workflow. It's just yet another project requirement that we need to comply with. But bottom line, we know that it's all to serve the end users and to solidify that trust.
Piotr, so, and just, beyond regulation, sometimes the bigger risk is human behavior. And, one thing I'm not very comfortable with is, for example, to give, my iPad or anything like that to my daughter, because she might buy something accidentally in some way. So how do you design to counter those behavior, or maybe some user bias?
Yes, the main purpose of us designing UX and UI in fintech is to allow the users to do the job they want to do. All right. But on the flow, on the user journey, there may be some individual moments in which we want to give that extra protection to the user so they don't do something they would not want to do normally, if you know what I'm saying. And one of that, I have one interesting example that we've had with one of the payment terminal providers. I can tell it's from eService, part of Global Payments right now. When we've been designing the approval screen and rejection screen for the transactions for those payment terminals, and we really wanted the transaction rejection to be concrete but very subtle in emotions. So we used the X icon. We said that transaction was not approved, but we just tried to use the same colors as we've been using for the other UI, so it just feels a little less in your face, so to speak. And this design has been approved, it has been developed, it has been distributed across Europe, and then we've received feedback from the users, but not exactly from the cardholders, but from merchants, all right? Merchants have discovered that some of those transaction rejections have been overlooked because the information on the UI was a little too subtle. So they asked, hey, we can't allow merchants to happen, so we need to make this screen more obvious. And it's funny, we end up actually making the screen entire red with the X icon. I mean, you can look it up on our portfolio and our use cases, where we're showing the transaction approval and transaction rejection. And that transaction rejection right now is, well, yes, it is a little more punchy for cardholders, but it is also protecting merchants for overlooking it. So that's just one example on how we had to protect the end user from overlooking or mistakenly doing things they would not like to do.
Now, this is a very great story, because especially in your case, you are operating in B2B2C. So that means your interface should fit to the cardholder, but also to the merchant. What stands out in your work is how you move fast without compromising quality. So that's hard in fintech, where the stakes are high and the margin for error is very thin. So how do you move fast without breaking trust?
Yes, so I believe our main focus is not just delivering high quality UX and UI, but delivering it fast. Our motto says, speed is king, yet slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So first of all, speed is king. This is undeniable truth. But we keeping that in mind, that speed is king, we also know how to be able to maintain that speed without burnout, because it's all about that. We care about the team. We know that great products are built by great teams. So we need to care about ourselves. I need to care about myself. I need to care about the employees, how they feel, and about the pressure in which they operate in. And that's why it says speed is king, yet slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Especially with creative work, we know that the greatest output happen when we operate from some level of comfort. All right, and relaxation. That's the state of mind that we try to maintain. So operating from that level of comfort is first component of our speed is king, yet slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. So first is comfort, and another component is how we make design accurate. You can be great UX designer. You can set up an amazing. You can be setting up amazing hypothesis that would then allow you to discover more and more things about your product, about the user journey. But if your assumptions are far away from the final product, then you will keep assuming and then testing and testing. So how to make assumptions the most accurate, the fastest is we know that knowing behavioral models and UI patterns is something that really helps you creating the designs that are immediately more accurate. Knowing what state of mind the user comes in, that they expect your product to look and feel and work somewhat similar to all the other products that they are using on a daily basis, is something that we strongly lean on. So yes, behavioral models and UI patterns, knowing those, this is the second component of our fast workflow. Then the third component, it is how to communicate. Communication is an essential part of UX design. You can be amazing UX designer, you can create hypotheses that are very accurate immediately, but if you cannot communicate that, then you're still kind of slow, kind of behind. We know that the end client isn't the only side we serve. We know that when we have an amazing UX design suggestion that would serve the end client, there is also the client, the actual owner of the product. So we need to be able to persuade to our UX suggestions to the product owner, to our client, all right? And only then, if we succeed in that persuasion, they will be able to develop that solution that actually would serve the end client. So we know that there's always two parties that we need to serve, so to speak.
Okay. So Piotr, you mentioned about the ability to convince your client about why this design is the best for them. So, because everyone have their own experiences with UX design, and so everyone have a view. So how do you make sure that you get the buy-in from your client?
Yes, Stefano. So getting our point across and that communication bit plays a crucial role in our workflow. So even if you would visit our website and you would go over to pricing and scroll down, you would see an example explainer video of ours on how we explain our suggestion. Let me just play it because it's just like, I believe, 15 seconds, but it should give you a decent understanding on how we get our point across. The chat, we have added standard functionality with chats. I mean, you decide if you want to develop that, obviously, but we have the ability to pin a chat. We have also slightly changed the way we present the unread message. And I'm going to pause here. I was just showing our source file screen by screen and explaining each UI element and also articulating why we have used this, why this color, and that this is our suggestion, and that the end client has the power to decide whether or not they want to use it.
Thank you very much, Piotr, for this demonstration. It shows that sometimes it's better to show, UX just to make it sure that everybody can understand the value you are bringing and also to understand all the reflection, behind it. So another question is, because design is also part of a product strategy. Have you ever been in a situation where you are challenging the product strategy itself?
Yes, so challenging the strategy is definitely part of our job. We need to make sure that the product will do the work the users want, but also we need to make sure that even once it does the job, it also does the job for the client in terms of strategy and in terms of the value added. So I would say that yes, this is definitely part of our day-to-day job to look critically look into the client strategy and give feedback on that as well.
I have a question for you, Piotr. Have you ever refused to design something, not because it was hard, but because it just crossed in some way your red line?
Yes, so our red line is ethics and morality. All right, we don't say it straight. It's written in our mission, but bottom line, it needs to be compliant with ethics and morality. So this is our red line. Luckily, with fintech, with paytech, we have never had a situation where we've had to say no to the client. But it is our duty, which we always fulfill, is to communicate our suggestions when we feel things are not as right as they could be. So it somehow connects with your previous question, where we critically need to look into the strategy, look into the product, look into the user flows, and give feedback. Sometimes even my employees say, okay, we don't need to communicate that. If they want to do it that way, then we do it that way. And I always say, of course, at the end of the day, we will do exactly as the client wants. But our duty is to make all we can to communicate our suggestions the way they do understand them.
So, Piotr, your approach is clearly shaped by experience. So let's zoom out. What core principle or hard-won lessons guide your work today?
Yes, so the core principle, it's also actually very transparently published on our website when you click on my bio. Since I remember, I have always been fascinated about the design, but also how it interacts, how the user interacts with that design, and what is the nature of that interaction. Bottom line, I really love to understand things. I really love to understand how human brain works, how psychology works, how cognition works, all with regards to that. And design has also always been my passion, and UX design is brilliantly connecting these two elements, the aesthetic aspect of the design and the utility aspect of the design, and psychology and understanding how and why things work. So it has always been my core principle, design and understanding how human brain works.
First question is, what is your philosophy of design, or maybe also of life?
Oh, that's a deep question. Thank you very much for that. All right. So philosophy for design first. Since I remember, I have always been passionate about design and about the interaction between the viewer and the design. And what is the nature of that design? I always wanted to understand design so I can design the way the viewers will interact the way I want it. Also, I'm passionate about psychology and understanding what causes us doing the things we do. That's how UX and UI interconnects those two disciplines. Design, I mean, it's especially its aesthetic part, and psychology. So that's with regards to the philosophy of design, but it really nicely connects with my philosophy in life. Teddy Graphics, our company, it's embedded into my DNA. It started off from my DNA. Obviously, I'm the founder. And my philosophy for life is really being the best person you can be, really keep pushing yourself because nobody is going to push you. It's always a battle you against you yesterday, so to speak. So pushing yourself to be better, but without burnout, making sure that we're here to live long. The life expectancy of people, it's constantly growing. We are living longer nowadays, and we will keep living longer. That's what I keep in mind when I take care of myself, of my fitness, of my nutrition, of my sleep. I like to go to bed early and wake up early, then go to the office and really work hard. I also stay long hours, but again, it's if you look at the calendar, at my calendar, and how I keep things organized, it is after all pretty much balanced. Although it doesn't necessarily feel that way when you see my Instagram posting me going to work 4:30 a.m. in the morning, stuff like that. Yes, but so this value, this philosophy of life, being better and better, pushing yourself, but taking care about yourself as well, and then design, aesthetical part of the design, and psychology about design, it all interconnects in this single word of understanding how and why. I believe, I mean, just as the last sentence that I would like to add on top of that is, I believe everybody should find this spot of understanding. Okay, I think I do understand the world to the degree that I'm happy with, and I can go with that. And I can build my life on top of that understanding. Yeah, I'm not going any deeper now.
Do we have time just for one last question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, great. We talk about AI, clearly buzzwords, but how do you use AI in your business today?
Yes, thank you for that question, Stefane. So nowadays, AI, meaning GPT, Claude, Grok, they are the language models. They are really well with operating with the language. Right now, it's fully embedded into our process. It is really helping us better understanding the context for which our design is addressing. So for instance, one is on the discovery phase, when we really need to understand the product, we really need to understand the background, we need to understand the data that the client is sharing with us. It is right now really easy. You just inject that to one of those tools, and then you speak with those data as if you would be speaking to a person. But it is also helping us understanding and even better designing individual screens. When we have new niche, like for instance, right now we're conquering a lab tech niche, which is a little new to us. And then when we are designing screens, we can always, by giving full context of the design and of the flow to the LLM, it could be Claude, it could be GPT, it could be Grok, it is giving us the answer that as if you would be talking to another senior designer. AI is very good at interconnecting all of those points of reference that you're giving, and is giving very, very accurate outputs and suggestions on how to design individual screens and flows. Yes, so AI is fully embedded into our process nowadays, even on our hiring, on our application requirements, is that yes, we do use AI on a daily basis, and we assume that if you are a candidate, you can do that too.
It's an amazing answer. So Piotr, thank you very much for those insights. So I think now we have a better understanding of how you work. I really appreciate your collaborative way of working, your philosophy of life, which is just amazing. You just demonstrate that design, empathy are not just buzzwords, but it's really part of who you are as an individual. And just for that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stefane, for taking the time. It was a pleasure for me to talk to you, as always. By the way, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. Also, thank you very much for having me within the Think, Act, Lead series. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.